Hello, my babes. Welcome back to my channel, the Self-Love Template, where we are leveling up our lives in all of the ways that we know that we need to. We are taking accountability. We are looking at all of the facets, leaving no stone unturned. Beard knows when I'm turning on the camera. Hold on one second. Let me see. I'm going to try to... Okay. This is Beard, if you don't know who Beard is. Come here. Come here. Oh, there he is. This is my 3-year-old Scotty. He's looking at the... But yeah, he always knows when I'm recording. So, hopefully this clip even comes through. But I'm going to go back to holding this mic because historically these microphones only really work when I hold them. They sound kind of crappy when I don't. Sorry, I'm just moving my soda closer to me. So grab your drinky poo. I have a Nixie. Oh, it's overflowing. I have a Nixie strawberry cream soda, 0 calorie, 0 sugar soda. It's my favorite soda of all time. I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it, you will love it. If you like strawberry, obviously if you don't like strawberry, maybe you wouldn't like it. But it's really good. But it is overflowing, which is annoying through my straw. So let's get into it, girls. Today I want to talk about decentering men. And this is a topic that I think has gained some momentum and traction over the last year or two. I mean, it's always been a thing quietly, but I think it's more so come out where women are more conscious of it and thinking about it. And to me, what it means is really exercising your own identity outside of romantic and sexual relationships. I feel that our society has created a narrative around the idea that romantic sexual relationships are the pinnacle of all human relationships, and I don't think that this could be further from the truth. In my personal opinion, all of life is a relationship. You literally have a relationship to everyone and everything. I have a relationship to this soda, to the reusable straw in my soda, to my microphone, to my home, to all of my friends and family, to my job, to my coworkers, to my clients, to every single possession that I have, to my environment, and most importantly, to myself. So we all have relationships with everyone and everything in our life. All of life is relating. So to say that this one relationship that you have with your romantic sexual partner or partners, if you're polyamorous or whatever, then to say that these relationships, whether they're same sex, opposite sex, doesn't matter. I'm talking all romantic sexual relationships. To say that they are the pinnacle of all relationships is selling yourself short from the infinite pathways of love that exist in your life. You actually are an embodiment of love to boot. So to emphasize these romantic sexual relationships and de-emphasize all of your other relationships is basically to call your life meaningless or devoid without this one ultra defining myopic relationship with a man or, a same-sex partner or whatever. For the sake of this video, I am going to speak in a heteronormative sense because I am a heteronormative woman. aka I'm straight. My romantic relationships have all been with men, and therefore I am coming from that place. I can only really relate to other heteronormative women because that's all that I've experienced. I've not experienced what it's like to be in a same-sex relationship or any of these other things. So I wouldn't be able to be sensitive to any of the particulars of relationships such as those. So, again, to emphasize this one type of relationship over all of your others is basically robbing you of these other infinite pathways to love in your life that exist. And again, you are an embodiment of love. It also just automatically is going to cause you to suffer because, along with that narrative, that heteronormative romantic sexual relationships are the pinnacle of all relationships, along with that narrative comes a slew of other narratives, such as that you remain completely undefined in your life until you have requited love, meaning that until you have the love of a man, the validation of a man, a relationship with a man, that you basically can't be a complete person. And moreover, in my life, what I tend to see with some of the women that I've encountered, I'm not saying all, but some, they really have a hard time, myself included, because this is a season of my life that I am currently going through. They have a hard time making decisions about their life outside of a relationship with a man. They have problems just making a decision in general. They tend to act as if they're waiting on a permission slip from a man or a relationship to give them permission to fully live, to fully actualize who they are, to fully be who they are, to have certain things in their life or experiences in their life that they want to have. It's like they're waiting for a relationship to tell them that it's okay to do these things. And moreover, that they're waiting for a relationship to tell them that they're happy, to 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 literally make a choice to be happy. Like they can't even choose to be happy unless they have a relationship with a man. And again, I'm preaching to the choir here because I have been in all of these positions. Even right now, when I am trying to figure out my life post breakup and post divorce, I am faced with the task of making really big life altering decisions without a partner. These are all decisions that I thought I was going to make in my life with a partner in my life. These are all really big, epic milestones that I thought I was going to have a partner to put up capital or just responsibility to share the burden of some of these things. And I'm not going to get into what some of these things are today because it's outside of the scope of this video, but I can say that there is a great sense of freedom that comes with that because I don't have to base my decision on someone else's preferences. I don't have to like negotiate with them in order to come to a happy medium. But within that great sense of freedom is also a very stifling sense of fear. Because I think also as women, we receive a lot of narratives about how we cannot do things without a male cosigner, or that, you know, we've been oppressed through the patriarchy through all of history to basically be the property of men in a dowry when we're going through like marriage lineages to hand down like patriarchal rights and property and things like that. It's not even just like a narrative. It's just that that's literally been the collective experience of women through all of recorded time, where it's only recently in the last like maybe half of a lifetime that women have had full quote unquote autonomy. But even then, we don't have full autonomy because we still historically make less money than men. And we still receive a lot of different treatment and perceptions than men receive in the same fields that we go into, whether it's business or life, or even, we're not even talking about family systems, which is a whole other topic for a whole other video. But yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies between how men and women are treated within the same types of contexts. And this is not to proliferate a bunch of misandry, because I don't consider myself to be some hater of men or something like that. I love men, but at the same time, I'm a woman and I can only base things off of my experience as a woman. And while I don't feel completely oppressed in every sense of the word, and I feel like I've been granted a lot of privilege in my life based on certain front facing appearances and things like that. While I don't feel oppressed in my life, I know that I've been granted certain privileges. I also know that I've not been granted the same types of largesse or privilege that a man of my same stature and socioeconomic status and all of that, they would be experiencing things much different than I would. And that's just a fact. That's just a historical fact. And it's just a fact that it remains this way in current society. And so much data out there that shows how women still make less money than men, and we still get treated differently in different contexts and stuff like that. To place romantic sexual relationships on a pedestal, you're really going to suffer and you're really going to miss out on a lot of life and a lot of love. You're going to miss out on other relationships that you could be putting your heart, your mind, your energy, your time, your focus into. I've seen it with women who are so literally just myopically focused and obsessed with a man that they, against all odds and all of their other relationships with other people who do love and support them, they completely overemphasize their relationship with this man and almost like obliterate the relationships that they have with other people, because their whole life becomes about focusing on this man, focusing on the man's needs, focusing on the man's desires and wants, focusing on his dreams, focusing on what he wants to do. It's as if this woman has no identity. And I've seen it to all different varying degrees where women tolerate things that they just shouldn't tolerate and are getting treated really subpar, and they're still staying with men who don't deserve any of their attention or anything like that, just because there's something within them tells them that in order for them to be valuable or worthy, that this man has to be the one to validate them, that this man has to be the one to show them that they are worthy by changing for them or rising to the occasion for them or stepping up to the plate for them or just whatever it is. And that's not even counting the fact that even when you get a man to do these things for you, whether that's marriage, get engaged, have a baby, all these things, that doesn't change your life in the sense of your internal life and your internal world and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your life. Yes, maybe you will get a baby out of it, and that's something that you've always longed for, but you're still neglecting to live your own life and to be your own person. Because when you have a baby, your whole life becomes about your baby, because it should, because your baby is helpless and needs all of your love, care, and concern. And it's part of like maternity and like maternal instinct, a healthy one anyways, to want to put your all into raising this baby. But then where do you go, right? That's why so many women, they don't really get to start to rediscover themselves or who they are, or their preferences and things like that, until their baby is much older. And you need to obviously have help to raise a child sometimes in order to be able to have time to allocate towards yourself. So it's like a lot. It's a big balance. And I think for some women, they just think that, oh, once I get married, once I have this baby, like everything's going to be fine. But really, you're still, again, not tending to your own inner world, your own inner identity, and who you are. I think people who make the best parents are the ones who are very actualized within themselves and have very consciously stepped forth and made the decision to be a parent, right? And they don't lose themselves within their child. They have a balance of some sorts within their life and within their inner world and how they view themselves and their child and their relationship with their co-parent or their spouse or whoever, right? Like it's a balance that we're all trying to seek. We don't want to lose ourselves, but I think when we are centering men way too much, we do tend to lose ourselves, and that's not fun. I mean, you will suffer if you lose sight of yourself, if you lose sight of the things that you want to do with your life, you know. But family is not something that I have any experience in because I do not have any children. So I don't want to speak really out of turn with all of that. But taking it back to a space of just romantic sexual relationships, that I do have a lot of experience in. So I know for me that the times when I've been the happiest in my life are always when I am single. And not because like, oh, I'm not with a man and men ruin it or whatever, but it's like because I was making lousy decisions to be with lousy men who were treating me lousy. And then when I got out of those situations, I was a lot happier, with the exception of one relationship that I was in with someone who I really, really loved. We broke up after like 3 years of being together, and then I was single for 3 years, and it was a lot of heartbreak, especially the first 2 years. And even the third year, I was still pretty heartbroken, but I was healing, and my friends kind of like pushed me back into the dating scene before I was ready. And then I ended up being with guys who I probably shouldn't have even paid attention to because I was really insecure from going through that breakup. And I never really worked on myself in order to heal during the 3 years that I was single. By the time I started dating again, I was just still coming from a really insecure place. And ironically, dating again was what thrusted me into a realm where I then had to really start working on myself. And it's gotten me to where I am today, having done all this work on myself and just feeling more liberated than I ever had. So the deal with that 3 year single period was that deep down within me was still a longing to be with a partner. And I had a great fear that I was never going to meet anybody ever again who I resonated with or was deeply attracted to. And I just thought it was all over for me. Like, I just thought that was my last experience that I'm ever going to have. It's too late. This ship has sailed. Not knowing that I was then going to go on to date other people, get married, get divorced, date someone else, date other people. Like, you just don't know what the future brings. But that's a caveat, or not even a caveat. It's just a tangent. The point of why I'm bringing up that 3-month or that 3-year period is because, again, I was so just still really longing for that relationship. And not just that relationship, but any relationship. I was longing for a relationship because I felt incomplete without one. I felt like I was lacking something because I didn't have one. I felt behind in life. I felt all of these really just lousy things that weren't even true. But looking back and knowing things now that I didn't know then, a lot of it really is just programming, if not all of it, because it's just drilled into us. Like, you don't realize how much it's drilled into you until you are an adult and you are a little more self-aware, and you can look back and you can just see all of the ways that you've been indoctrinated from such a young age. Like, literally, fairy tales all revolve around patriarchy. Um, Music, movies, television, when you're older, magazines like Cosmo and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to say that these things aren't like fun and that I have omitted them from my life completely. No, I have not. But I am an adult and I can be more self aware and I can look at these things with more of an objective philosophical eye to know whether or not something I'm consuming is good for my mental diet, or proliferating something that's more liberating versus more enslaving, and more like something that's going to induce suffering more, within myself or within society or whatever. And I think it's up to us to be looking at things that we ingest mentally and intellectually and decide if they are things that are life giving or life taking or freedom giving or freedom taking. And that's just my personal opinion. It's my MO. It's how I run my life. I refuse to watch things. I mean, I've seen Love Island, but I refuse to watch it because I think it is utter trash that is teaching people how to objectify each other, and it emphasizes the physical aspect of a relationship when that's just one tiny, non-pragmatic, super duper, like, I don't know, like, yes, it's important to have physical attraction and things like that, but do I think it is the most important thing? No. And especially when it comes to a long-term relationship, if you're trying to be in a relationship where you want to have monogamy and be together until you're old or whatever, as you age, like, the sexual component, it remains important, but at a certain point, it's not going to be the same as it was when you were, much, much younger and looked different, engaged in different things. Like, it's going to be an ever evolving entity in and of itself. It's going to be a deepening aspect of the relationship in and of itself. So to proliferate going from partner to partner and just treating people like they're disposable and that you can truly get to know somebody within a few weeks span of time, or like a few days span of time, or a few hours span of time, it's just, to me, the most frivolous garbage I've ever seen. And I just can't even believe that people regularly tune into this program and watch it and then wonder why the dating scene is as cooked as it is. Like, hello. I mean, it really comes down to, especially us as women, because we are the one who is tolerating things in a relationship. We are the ones who are accepting certain denigrations and like lowering of standards and saying, yeah, that's okay. We want that. You know, we want to be on that level, or we want our standard to go lower and lower. You have to keep a standard for yourself with everything in your life, but especially with the relationships that you keep. And if people are giving you things that don't match what you want, it's up to you to say, I don't want this, and to cut it out of your life and to have boundaries in order to protect that. So, getting a little bit away from decentering men. I mean, I think all of this definitely relates to each other. I mean, it's not going to be like these neat little boxes. It all kind of like intermingles, intermeshes with each other. And when we consider or contemplate some of these things, it's going to shine a light on each other, right? So, decentering men allows you to bolster your own identity, become more of who you are, and then that creates a higher standard for yourself, standard of living in all different facets of your life. And then in turn, with the relationships that you hold and that you keep, and in turn, the dating partners that you're going to consider versus not consider, and the things that you're going to tolerate or not, the reasons you would drop a guy or not. You know, like all these things feed into each other. But the most important thing is that you are looking at who you are as an individual with your own mind, your own heart, your own soul, your own spirit. And you are engaging in a relationship with yourself above anybody else, not in an arrogant way, not in a way where you're not going to contribute or be of service to people or help meet each other's needs. Nobody's saying to do that, but you are going to prioritize yourself, be the most important person in your life, because the better you treat you, you're going to know how to treat other people better. And the better you treat you, the fuller your cup is, you're going to be able to treat people better. And you are also going to have a different standard and a different boundary when someone is coming at you and treating you below par for the course for you. So it's like if you're completely centering men and that's the only way you feel complete or you feel fulfilled, then probably your par for the course is like really down here, right? Versus like if you really know who you are and you're comfortable in who you are and you're filling your own cup and you have all these other loving, supportive relationships that you're tending to, like a garden, then your par for the course is up here. So if some guy comes at you who's here, you're not even going to think twice about that guy. You probably won't even be attracted to that guy. But it's like you have to just think about it in terms of the standard that you're setting, the standard that you're holding, the standard that you're keeping. They all have to start from within. They're not going to come from anybody else. All of it. Everything starts from within. And then it gets reflected out to you. And then how you respond to those reflections gives you further feedback of who you are and how you are and where you're at in your life and stuff like that. So, yeah. If you're placing romantic and sexual relationships at the pinnacle of your life and you de-emphasize your own relationship to yourself, you're going to suffer and you're probably going to experience really subpar relationships with especially men, but other people as a whole. Because it's kind of like I guess, your house, right? Like, say you have this friend and they have like a gorgeous mansion and you go there all the time because it's so clean and it's so nice and you just love being there. But then you go home to your really crappy place where you never take care of it. And because you're always out at this other friend's house, you're never home to ever deal with anything that you need to deal with or clean your own house. And so it just keeps getting nastier and nastier. And every time you are home, you don't enjoy being there and you just want to get away and you want to get over to this friend's house. But then this friend decides to move like 3,000 miles away or something like that. And now you can't go over their house anymore. And you're stuck at your own house and have to deal with your own stuff. But it's become such a mess that even the idea of starting in like one little corner of the house feels so overwhelming to you because it's so cluttered and disorganized and disarrayed. It's like the same thing here. If you're always just tending to everybody else's relationships with you and you're never tending to your own relationship with yourself, then that's how it's going to become in your internal world. You're not going to know where to begin. It's all going to feel just incredibly overwhelming and like you don't want to be there and you can't even sit with yourself or be with yourself or have time with yourself because it's a mess. And unfortunately, you have to start somewhere. You have to literally pick a corner of your own mind and you have to start dissecting it, and you have to just start cleaning little by little, decluttering little by little until eventually your place is going to become so zen and so feng shuied out that you love being there. You love being in your own space. And in this analogy, in your own mind, your own heart, your own soul, your own spirit, you're going to love your company, your own company, being with yourself, doing your own thing. You're going to love and appreciate that so much more. And it's going to make you so much more of an enriched person. And you're going to be able to have such a far broader scope of influence where you're more inspiring to your friends and able to be more loving to your friends and family. You're just going to have a farther reach and a greater impact because your own house is clean. Really means your own relationship is sorted out with yourself. And even like those hard to reach places and dark corners and closets where you have things shoved inside, you eventually have the wherewithal to look within those places and face head on the things that you know are still messed up about you and are still needing a light shined on them. And you know what they say, when you shine a light on a dark place, the cockroaches all run. Okay? So you want to be shining a light on all of your facets, and some of them are going to twinkle and sparkle, and some of them are going to have cockroaches scattering. And you know what? That's a good thing, because we want to begin to unpack all of that, because you want to know why you, my lovely dear, are worth it. You are worth doing the hard things for. And the woman who taught me that is Roxy Safai. And I thank her for that to this day, because it is something that I've always kept in the back of my mind since I heard it. And I remind myself that the harder something is for me to do or to face, the more important it is for me to be doing it. And I am worth it, because no one else is ever going to know that you're worth it until you know that you're worth it. And that's just a fact. And that's a muscle that you have to build over time and learn how to flex and learn how to use. And it took me a lot, and I'm still learning a lot with regards to that. But I don't ever look at the hard situations in my life or the arduous situations in my life and feel like, oh, I just don't want to do that. No, like, the harder it feels, the more I know I need to do it. Because again, no one else in my life is going to know that I'm worth doing hard things for if I don't know that I'm worth doing hard things for. And then I'm going to end up tolerating people who can't rise to the occasion for me because I just can't rise to the occasion for myself. So do you see how those intermingle? So yeah, I mean, I think that taking the emphasis away from men, whether you're just dating or even if you are married, I mean, I know that's going to be controversial for some people who are in relationships, married relationships. But I think you have to look at the quality of the relationship too, right? Like, number one, you don't want something that's codependent. So you have to be honest with yourself about that kind of a situation too. But that's a separate video for a separate day. But number two, you want to look at the quality of the relationship in the sense of, is this person really worth my time, my concern, my worry, my resources, my attention, my focus? Because there's going to be people who are worth it and there's going to be people who are not worth it. And again, the more right you are with yourself, you're going to know the answer to that question, because there's going to be people who want to help themselves versus who also want to help you, but not even versus, like, meaning like there's going to be people who are right within themselves as well and do want to help themselves in their own life, and therefore they're filling their own cup, and then they deserve that reciprocity from you, like, because your cup is full too, and then you guys are able to reciprocate with each other. But then there's going to be people who it's just not reciprocal on any level, and you might be putting in your all and stuff like that and getting met with like nothing really positive in return. And you have to be honest with yourself about when that is occurring. You can't just keep wasting all of your precious time, energy, focus, etc., resources on this person who can barely help themselves or barely wants to help themselves, you know? But again, if the person is more actualized, more in tune with themselves, more self-aware, more self-appreciative, you're going to know. You're going to know because it's going to be more reciprocal. And then again, you'll know whether or not it's codependent, because that autonomy can remain. And as much as you might be ambitious together or building things together, you still have your own identities and you still have your own things that you each want, because you're each your own unique individual person. You know, we're not in a cult here. We're in a relationship. There's a lot big of a difference. There's a lot of a difference between those two things, you know. You have to think of what made you and what made this partner, what made you guys sexy to each other in the first place was the fact that you were just out there bopping around doing your thing, being who you are. So you don't want to lose that, right? You want to keep that individuation and at the same time come together into something interdependent and not lose yourself, and understand too that, like we said in the beginning of the video, everything in your life is a relationship. Everybody in your life you have a relationship to. And so obviously there's a discourse that goes on between you and whomever you have this relationship with, and it's a two-way street and stuff like that, but you still have to tend to your relationships. You still have to water them and help them grow. And if you're completely emphasizing just the romantic sexual relationships in your life, or even just the filial relationships in your life, and you're neglecting your own relationship with yourself, and you're neglecting all these other relationships with these other people and things that make you who you are, then you start to like almost, I think, disappear in a sense. And then that's when you lose your ability to even know, like, what does make me happy in my life? Like, who am I? What choices do I want to make? Like, what things do I want to try to accomplish in the future? Stuff like that. You start living vicariously through these other people instead of just living through you and who you are in this one life that you get to live and be this one iteration of yourself, whoever you are. Like for me, it's Victoria, right? It's like I have to take the best care possible that I can of myself, and I have to really exercise all of the God given facets that make me who I am, because I only get this one chance to develop and be Victoria. So I want to do that with as much integrity as I can. So this is not all to say that you can't ever be with a man, or that like we need to all be like romantically like devoid, or that, you know, like I'm an anarchist or something like that. No, it's not to say any of that. But it is to say that the more you center yourself and decenter men, the more you center the core of your essence, it's just going to make all of your other relationships flourish. You have really centered yourself. You are going to be in a position to be more discerning about the type of a man who would be worth putting time, energy, and focus into on similar levels that you've allocated towards other really important relationships in your life. So all of your relationships get to be on like an equal par. And at the same time, this man is not going to expect you to center him, is not going to expect you to give up who you are to be with him. He's not going to try to control you, you know, as much as he might be a strong force in your life who offers a lot of leadership and protection and like other really masculine qualities. It's never going to be somebody who is going to subjugate you or try to like hold you down or hold you back or put toxicity into your life. And you're going to just be able to like discern that about a man, like where he's at within himself and what he's capable of bringing to this two-way street of the relationship. So it's also like the healthier you are within yourself and your own mind, your own heart, your own life, then you're going to call in and be attracted to a man who's just a lot more healthy and a lot more actualized and self-aware within his own self too. So it's a win-win, meaning the more work you put into you, the more you center yourself, the more you clean out those dark corners like we talked about and stuff, the better off you're going to be in all of your relationships, but especially romantic sexual relationships. And because those are our most intimate mirrors, they always have the potential to cause us the most suffering because they're bringing us the most starkest realities and truths, the most starkest reflections, the most stark reflections. But again, you get the most truth and feedback out of those relationships. So the more you're centering yourself, the more you're right with yourself, you're going to see things reflected back to you differently. And again, all of your relationships with everything and everyone in your life are going to flourish, grow, change, blossom, morph, transmute right before your eyes. Like all of that is going to happen the more right you get within yourself, the more you go within and keep learning more of who you are, keep centering you, keep just being you. There's literally only one you. You only get this one chance to be you. So let's learn how to love her. Let's learn how to love her more fiercely than she's ever been loved, whether that's because we're loving her better than any other man has loved us, or we're loving her better than we've ever been capable of loving ourselves, because we're learning how to do that with a greater depth and a greater certitude and a greater richness and a greater joviality as well, you know? So I'm going to jump before this gets too long. Thank you so much for watching. I love talking about all of this kind of stuff with you guys. Please be sure to like the video. It helps the channel grow. Commenting also helps, but more so, I just want to know your thoughts, and you can also feel free to comment any video ideas that you want to talk about, and make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed already, turn on the bell notification so you know when I'm posting. And I appreciate you guys so much. I love being on this journey with you. It literally makes me so happy. I'm sending you all my love from the bottom of my heart, always. And I can't wait to be with you guys in the next video. So I'll talk to you then. Bye.